Welcome to the Australian National Petanque Championships 2022. Today we're looking at the Women's Triples Principal Final. Here, of course, at Nova Gardens Petanque Club in beautiful Adelaide. We've got two fantastic teams have fought their way through to the final. In the blue shirts, we have Giselle Whittaker, her mother Judy Whittaker, and of course, Wendy Benson. And in the red shirts, Melissa Scott, Therayam Pasharapat, and Meredith Clark. The blue shirt team are all Adelaide dwellers, and the red shirts are Melissa and is from Adelaide, and Therayam and Meredith are from Sydney, so a composite side. And here we are on the first end. A good ball has been placed, which requires Wendy Benson to shoot. A great shot and a space in time that I can quickly introduce the people commentating. Of course, I'm Gary Hosey, and next to me we have
Susan Krieg.
Susan Krieg. Does not take the point, but puts a good ball in front. Both teams have similar lineups in that each has got a defined shooter and a middle person with the ability to do both and set pointers.
Ty is obviously aiming to shoot Melissa's ball away from the kosh.
Therayam Pasharapat is commonly and colloquially known as Sai, and we will refer to her as Sai for the rest of this match. It's not a bad ball, but slightly long. We haven't had much rain. The piste is dry and crispy. There'll be a tendency for it to be fairly quick rolling.
So Meredith steps into the circle again.
Again, not a bad ball. It's an old petanque maximum that a ball in front is generally considered a good ball. It gives you potential to promote. It gives also the possibility that the opposition team may accidentally promote you. So for a first end, it's not too bad. Two balls in front. They definitely won't want to be giving away too many points on the first end. And at this point in time, the blue team have many balls in hand, so good defence is required.
And Sai knocks her teammate's ball up to be right beside the kosh.
And there you see the advantage of the ball in front. Sai accurate enough to play onto it, push it and promote it. And so this is a job for Wendy Benson, Australian representative.
And a very effective shot.
Does the job. Wendy's pleased. Judy Whittaker does her usual ritual, paces it out, measures the distance, Gives her a bit of a clue.
She's gone a bit far. Quite a bit far. A very accurate point.
A good adjustment. Giselle Whittaker has only been in Australia for around about a year after some years living overseas. Played quite a lot in London with the London Pétanque Club.
Again, the ball that are in front make it difficult for her to get through to the cochonnet.
And you could see there that she was fairly conscious of trying to get around the front balls and ended up going a little bit wide on the right. Our broadcast sponsor, of course, Pétanque Federation Australia, realising the potential of video to really highlight the skills and excitement of pétanque, something that static photographs rarely achieve. And Judy will be disappointed with that one. Again, too long. It'll be interesting to see how the players adjust to this, because it is dry, it is crispy, but the tendency seems to be to stay low, and perhaps using a bit more altitude and a bit more backspin may produce a more consistent result.
Melissa throws a better ball. Still plenty of room around the cochonnet. Once again, Judy's gone past. And you could see her body language saying she was disappointed with that shot. Giselle stepping into the circle.
She'll be disappointed in that. There is enough space to get through.
Carefully looking at the landing spot. She's moved the cosh. I think we'll see if that's now holding.
The holding ball's behind, so Melissa Scott.
Her ball also has gone too far.
A lovely shot. Sai is, of course, from Thailand, has lived in Australia for some years, but has only very recently started playing petanque again. Played a lot as a youth, as a child, but only in recent times has she returned to the game, and already she's starting to find very good form.
Interesting that most of the ball are running past the cosh. That one stops beautifully.
It's only the second end. One would hope that the players will get a better feel for what is a fairly firm, quick rolling ground. Another fabulous shot. That was au fair, as the French would say, on the iron, ball to ball, and not quite a carreau, but a palais. The ball stays close, and not only does it remove the opposition ball, but it becomes a point. Meredith Clark is again someone quite new to the game, wanting to play for some years, but finding it difficult to fit into family life. Now she's been able to do so, and she has improved dramatically over the last year, and here she's in the final.
Players agreeing. It looks like 4.
Well, that's a very fine haul. They'll be very pleased with that indeed. And you'll be pleased with hip pocket workwear and safety. Dealing with them is always a pleasure. Okay, back live. The score is 4-2 and Melissa Scott to start. And the theme continues of the pointers struggling to dominate the front. For those of you who are wondering about the strings running up the middle, this final is being played across a number of standard grounds, so those strings have no bearing on the game, only the outside borders do.
Back ball must be still holding.
Giselle gave a finger sign to say it was about 4 inches short.
And that's a much better point.
I must correct myself for younger members of the audience. It was 100 millimetres short.
So at this stage, red team don't look as if they're opting to shoot. Melissa's pointing.
And Sai Pasharapat steps in. Only game for one attempt at this point in time.
Mm.
Hoping that Meredith Clark can produce the goods, take the point.
Again, gone too far.
For those of you who may have watched videos from French competitions or major international competitions, you'll notice that in those competitions many people point from a squatting position. It's not something that's ever taken off in Australia.
That's a good point. And Wendy steps up to take aim at that shot, at that ball. And she does so expertly.
Slightly short, but caught the target ball on the rise and moved it sufficiently to have done its job. And then you saw Sai actually squatting down to point. Quick on-piste conference.
Giselle would be disappointed with that.
Yes, a wry smile as she walked up the piste to look at the ground.
Body language says it.
Yeah, a shrug. You can see in the background there it's quite windy today. The banners and flags moving profusely, but I would suggest that that hasn't played a big part in the misdirecting of the bull.
Interesting to see how far the bull in that end are from the Cochonnet people.
It's not always easy to tell from the live recording booth. So one more point, and of course broadcast sponsor, the South Australian Petanque League, who've provided support for this competition in terms of expertise, and we are grateful to them for their contribution.
And I think you'd agree that the videos are educative in you know, as well as watching the play. It's quite educative to see the decisions that are made and the for those players that are watching.
It certainly is. Both what to do and what not to do. But that's a good ball from Judy,
yes,
and she will be
happy with that.
happy with that. She sets high standards for herself. She will have been disappointed with the first few ends, but she will be anticipating more of that one.
Obvious that the pointers this end are aiming to be in front, as always. That one's a little, can still be a disconcerting ball though for the opposition if it's directly in front. And that's gone too far.
Overcompensation. There is a tendency for people to be reluctant to be short. For some reason, despite the fact that being in front is advantageous, and that leads to a tendency to go too long. I always advise people to err on the side of shortness rather than push to try and be too close and then go long.
That distance is good.
From the video, these pieces look reasonably flat. There are surprising dips, mounds and rolls that are not so easy to see in the dimension of a TV screen, but when you are there on the ground, they are much more apparent.
A beautiful ball.
Benson to shoot. Shooting short.
And that time, well executed.
A good length, drifted out to the side. She's a bit disappointed with that. So can Judy Whittaker follow up her excellent first ball with another good ball to add to the point tally? Judy's confident she's got the second point. She may be encouraging Giselle to play onto it, perhaps with the intention of pushing it. Maybe it isn't quite far enough. Giselle takes another point by the looks of things. Spontaneous applause from her two teammates. just as Giselle was preparing to play that shot, there was a good view of the crowd in attendance, and amongst those people on those stool chairs are some of the big guns of the women's game. Champions, former champions, current champions, all sitting on the sidelines and possibly thinking it should be me. But it isn't. And we have 6 very talented lady players currently locked in combat. All filmed by Clever Wombat, a experienced and creative company that has created some of the best footage of Australian petanque for people to appreciate and enjoy.
Interesting that we haven't had anything measured thus far in this game.
Reasonably unusual.
From here, that looks as if that might warrant a measure, but it's difficult to tell from where we are.
That's a great shot. It was interesting on that Melissa's second point then, how you could see from the way she played that ball that it was a stronger throw. Rather than using, say, altitude and an increased length of her first bounce, she threw it harder.
And Wendy answers with it.
Yeah, Wendy fires back. Judy drops a bit short. Many of these ends are hovering close to that central string, and I suspect that is playing a bit of a part.
It's disconcerting, isn't it, with the string playing across the string, or it does add a bit of a different dimension. That's an excellent point. Giselle very happy with that.
I think one of the things that makes playing along that string quite difficult is because the majority of play on these pistes is up the middle. Under normal circumstances, the areas near the string don't get used as much, and so they tend to be higher than the middle. So there's a very irritating
slope
mound all the way along the string. Over the top. 2 balls each left. Score is 4 to the Reds, 6 to the Blues. Disappointing ball there. Around about now would be a very good time to be putting a ball in front, trying to
as a
prevent the
defensive,
scoring of points.
Interesting to see where she lands. I think she'll aim to land beyond the string because, yeah, and then the risk is that it goes too far.
On a piece this dry, this quick, if you are going to land that close to the jack, you need to be using either a lot more altitude or a lot more spin. And altitude is probably the safer bet.
Interesting to see what Giselle does. Shaking her head, disappointed after that beautiful first shot. She's not got anywhere near it.
I think she may have landed on the string.
The string is definitely a factor, particularly, you know, for pointers. That's a very good ball.
So it looks like 2 more points for the blue team. They take a 4-point lead. And as we look from earlier in the competition, the beautiful aerial shots, and proudly sponsored by the Petanque Federation of Australia. Amazing shots, in fact, of this wonderful petanque facility.
From here, this looks like a slightly longer end.
And tellingly, they've stayed away from the string.
Yeah.
And again, going long.
Yes, yep. That's a better ball. Distance is accurate there.
You made the comment earlier that we haven't had any measurements, and we'd like to just say thanks to our umpires who do a fantastic job, and sometimes it's not having to do anything that can be a little bit frustrating and tiresome probably for them, but they're here every day of this event.
I did notice on a previous end the umpire reminding players to mark the cautionnet. You could see it hitting stones on the way there. And it stopped it.
There was a few noticeable jumps, which
Yes.
is kind of unusual because they're not that prevalent on this ground,
No.
larger stones. It is
Fairly
fairly even.
yeah.
You noticed just before she threw that ball, a quick rub on the ground with her hand. They can be tense affairs finals. Clammy hands are a possible symptom, and she just wanted to dry the hand so the ball wouldn't stick.
Overcorrection there.
I suspect with 2 balls in front being her own teams, that she was trying to
Knock them up.
push at least one of them in. And it's always a slightly risky ball because if you're landing 3 or 4 metres away, it lessens your chance of achieving that. And if you do miss, you go long.
Wendy looks similar. You could see she was actually, I think, aiming for those two. And yeah. So I think it looks as if blue are out, a bull.
Just quickly trying to work out whose is whose.
Mm.
But they've got 4 balls in the hand, and one would hope and expect that they will be able to take advantage of this.
Mm. I think we saw four attempts there, didn't we, to knock those 2 bull up by blue team.
It certainly looked like that's what they were trying to do.
Mm. And as you say, the risk with that is that if you miss, your bull's gone. Red team will not be trying to do that, obviously, wanting to stay away from those 2 bull.
I think the bit of nervousness there to make sure, a bit of fear about accidentally pushing those 2 balls in front. So again, the balls in front do play a part.
Mm. I have heard them called sucker balls. They suck you in terms of trying to miss them, and often you don't. So even though they're a long way from the cosh, they're real deterrent. Mm.
Well, that was an astonishing last 4 balls. Great opportunity
Yes.
to add to the haul,
Yeah.
and they will be incredibly disappointed with that.
Mm.
But they do take a point. They do edge a little bit closer. 3 points behind now.
Got out of jail there.
The beautiful gum trees at Nova Gardens provide wonderful welcome shade in the summer, although this is not a particularly hot day. It's a beautiful facility to play at in the summer because you've got the shade.
Yes, there's not so many pieces across Australia that are benefited by shady trees.
Judy places a beautiful ball.
Walks briskly up to admire her work.
And Sai disposes of it very expertly.
And in the process kills the jack, which means that the end is now null and nobody scores points, and we restart from this end with the team that threw the jack previously also throwing the jack from this end.
From this aerial shot, you can see there's quite a bit of variation in some of the pieces. Some have quite fine dolomite and some stony, like the one that we're playing on at the moment. A very good point in front. Judy pacing out again, and we're going across the line, aren't we?
Indeed we are, but the jack is, I think, long enough away from the strings that it shouldn't be on a mount. Although that said, the landing spot for many of these players may well be affected by the area running up the string. So Wendy taking a fairly aggressive option to have a go. And again, that slump of the shoulders. It looked like it was going to be a very good ball, but there's just a little bit less gravel near those strings, and it went just beyond and was taken by the smooth, slight slope near the string. And a second time.
Yep.
Interesting that Judy, who normally points first, opted not to on that occasion, or was directed not to, and Giselle took the opportunity. So now it's up to Judy. 3 balls are down already.
That's a very good point. Judy, very happy with that.
Easy when you know how.
And side dispatches it. Can be discouraging if you're a pointer.
Yes, he has nice action. Sai, a good high backswing. So shooting at long distance is not really so much of an effort for her. So Wendy, the last ball for the Blues, needs to try and shore things up, prevent a hatful of points being conceded. And absolutely not what she wanted there.
No. So Reds have got a plenty of bull and a wide open cautionary. Let's see if they can capitalise.
With 1 ball each on the piece, Sai could almost take a shot now and try and dispatch the blue ball, and then it wouldn't matter where they put their balls. If she missed, Meredith is also capable of shooting. So there's a definite chance for points here. So Sai shoots in an attempt to try and maximise the points from all of these extra balls that the red team had. Unfortunately, probably should have done it a few shots earlier. She's accidentally hit one of her own teammates. The target ball is still there. There is only 1 point on the ground. And Meredith makes it 2 points. So that's not a bad return, but with 2 other balls on the piece that could have been converted into points, it was still an opportunity missed. Speaking of opportunities, the South Australian Petanque League providing opportunities for clubs and new players to participate in various competitions.
Melissa starts with a very nice point on this end. Still room to get past it by blue team, but looks like Wendy is going to shoot. In that instance, doesn't achieve what she wanted to. So either Judy or Giselle will point.
It's interesting that she only had the one attempt at it. It's clearly a difficult ball, and one would think that if it was worth one shot, perhaps 2 would have also been worthwhile. Let's see what Judy does. But Wendy's been shooting quite well, and if she shoots more often, it'll make it easier for her to be more consistent. And clearly that front ball is a distraction. And it's too late to shoot now because she could hit that ball beautifully and move the jack. I can't help but think that had that ball not been there, Judy may have produced a better ball. A certain amount of reticence because of that front ball.
Giselle's gone to the side and too far.
This is not shaping up to be a good end for the Blues at the moment.
With 2 ball left, they need to be defensive. It looked like it hit a stone. And Giselle not happy, as you would. Yeah.
Definitely not happy. So there's a bit of pressure on Wendy's shoulders.
Yep.
An experienced player. Broad shoulders they are. And let's see what she can do. And that's a great ball.
Yes. Not only is it close, it's in front.
Sai will shoot, of course, and it does present the possibility that the jack could go and be killed, and in which case the red team could pick up a very handy 4 points. So a good ball that by Wendy, but still slightly problematic. Sai will obviously go again. And you could see then that after the miss of the first shot, where she went dead, tried to be dead on the ball, in the second shot she pulled back a little bit and figured that maybe if I drop short, it'll increase the chances of a hit. But it's not really the way she shoots, and she would have been better off trying to go on the iron.
Good defensive ball. Not sure that that was what she was meaning to do, but it's...
My feeling was she was possibly trying to shoot that ball.
I
Otherwise,
agree.
it was an incredibly hard point.
Yeah, yeah.
That had it not hit anything, would have gone well and truly long.
Again.
So 2 ends in a row now. The red team have had
Opportunity.
plenty of balls in hand to capitalise and get a good score, but at this point in time really failing to take advantage. And in the end, the blue team takes a point. So that will be a major disappointment to the Reds.
As you say, 2 ends. They could have had many points.
8 balls in the hand across the 2, and 3 points. Well, no, 2 points being what they took, and then 1 point. Wendy's fantastically good defensive ball thwarted their point scoring ambitions in total. So 2 disappointing ends, and on such things the fate of games can be
Decided.
But again,
We're going across the string.
Judy fails to put the pressure on with a good ball in front.
And Melissa puts the pressure on with that point.
Wendy's definitely inclined to shoot.
And she does so very efficiently this end.
Has a tendency to shoot a bit short. And a couple of these balls that she has hit have been hit on the rise.
Are we going to ask for a measure? Our first one in the game? No?
No, it looks
Yes,
like it.
yes. Some games every end seems to need a measure, not this one.
I think that's a function of the level of experience that these players have. I think less experienced players tend to be the ones calling for measures. In most cases, I think they've been able to work it out for themselves.
Would you say this game's been characterised by fairly large distances between both the bull and the... You know, you see many games where the bull are absolutely clustered around the cochonnet. We haven't really seen that.
No, I think it's you know, an obvious thing that the majority of balls are going long. That when it's not a successfully thrown bull, more often than not they are going long. And it's interesting that none of the players have really changed much of what they do to try and prevent that from happening.
It's a better point. Sai steps up again. Wants to talk to teammates about her next strategy.
It's always good to get a confirmation. And it's excellent to be supported. And that was a very fine shot, removing a very awkward ball from the front. So can Giselle Whittaker
Put it back. Yes.
She'll feel good about that. Two good balls in a row. The game is at a crucial juncture.
So I will not be happy with that miss.
I think there's been a lack of consistency from all players. Nobody has really got on a roll of, you know, good ball after good ball or good shot after good shot. There's been lots of ups and downs.
By all players. I have been told that this is the most dangerous point in the game when the scores are around 7 and 8, because there's a potential for, you know, a win from that point.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. Meredith also trying to shoot that ball.
Yes, with the potential that either team could score 6 points in an end, although it's not so common. As soon as teams get within that range, a mistake or two can be fatal. I think particularly with when your opponent is a team with good shooters, a couple of wayward balls that leaves you a bit exposed. So yes, the tension should be ramping up considerably about now. And two balls that have really left the Reds in a difficult situation. shot here could potentially yield 3 points.
Mm.
And she's done it.
Mm-hmm.
A good shot and what looks like an excellent outcome. And if you are looking for an excellent outcome for your next order of workwear and safety equipment, or even sporting equipment, Hip Pocket can supply excellent team outfits, jackets, embroidery, whatever you want. Contact them.
So blue team scored 3 points on that last end. So they're going into this end with a decided advantage. And a very good point by Judy. We're going across the string just for interest.
Excellent start. There is a superstition, obviously, among petanque players that sometimes you can get stuck on 12, sticky 12. Let's see if the superstition has any validation here.
That ball follows exactly the same path, line.
It was a good enough first ball that I'm a little bit surprised that Sai did not take the opportunity to shoot. And of course now it's somewhat problematic.
And Melissa has done it.
Good adjustment.
Mm.
Tight situation, not a lot of room to get past, and the last thing she would have wanted to do was come into her own ball, which would have made life very difficult. Impossible to really shoot. Again, Wendy drops short. Bounces.
Sometimes you do wonder how the ball misses when shooters are shooting.
Speaking from experience, I wonder that often.
Sometimes they bounce over like that. Again, you got to think about that line. That didn't seem to hit the line, but it.
Well, the bottom line is that the ball nearly always bounces. So you've either got to land far enough in front that it bounces and is on the drop and hits the ball, or you've got to hit it dead on.
Mm.
Still that ball
Stays on the push.
stays. There are techniques to employ when you're shooting that will help make the ball stay low. But Wendy's technique is not of that kind. It's always going to provide a bounce.
You could definitely see the line come into play there. It actually went in a different direction when it hit that line.
So the red team, 4 balls in hand.
Mm. Real pressure for Giselle here.
Whoa.
And she's disappointed with that. Throws her hands up in despair.
Now, the only comfort for the blue team is that the Reds have
Squandered
4 points in the hand twice. So, maybe not yet as cut and dried. Potentially, they could get 5 points here, which would make the score 12-12. But there's a lot of work to be done yet. And the theme of the day continues, pointing going long. The bottom line here is, though, that she can't really be short. If she's short, she won't get the point.
Yep.
So in her mind,
Yep.
she is trying not to be short.
Mm.
And trying not to do something is never a good way to approach a shot.
Mm. Mm.
There
Team
may be-
encouraging each other.
Yes.
This end is shaping up to be similar, but let's see what Sai can do. And don't
Drop
think
short.
so. Drop short.
There may have been some benefit in taking the initiative and trying to shoot the two balls at the front and take a bit of a risk.
They
They've
have-
played it safe, and so far it hasn't served them well. But the odds of them losing the game on this end are...
And that's a beautiful point.
And there will be some relief, I think.
Mm.
It would have been very disappointing to have had another 4-ball in the hand advantage and to have failed to really capitalise on it. So
2 for the red team, which brings us up to 9-12.
So the sticky 12 could still apply.
And it can be incredibly difficult to get that last point.
That's a great
Beautiful point.
So there's no question here. Wendy straight away looking to shoot. Oh, questioning the distance.
This is a first for this game as well.
Both umpires called into action. 2 fine fellows. And if this is too long, I think the Blues will breathe a sigh of relief, because that is a really good ball.
And it is.
A very good ball and a very long shot it would have been to remove it. So
A very effective call.
and the Blues immediately change the direction.
Mm.
Obviously choose a shorter length. And Melissa must overcome disappointment and
Do it again.
do it again.
Mm. That strategy has worked, hasn't it? Nowhere near as good a ball as the first one.
Yes. It's a real discipline being an opening pointer in a team.
Mm.
If you consistently put that ball in front and apply the pressure to the opposition, you have a very good chance of winning.
Mm.
But neither team has been able to consistently apply that
Mm.
pressure.
long
an
way
open
from the
piece.
cosh.
Yes.
Judy obviously trying to compensate for that first ball.
And that was a good push. A risky shot, not too sure whether it was deliberate. Had she not pushed the ball, she would have been well and truly long. But maybe she did decide to back herself and go for it. And if that was indeed the case, it was an excellent outcome. Not a bad ball. Doesn't look to be enough to take the point. And they would have very much liked to have done so at that point in time. They're 9-12 down.
Pressure on Meredith here.
Having a good long look. All right, this is a good time for Wendy to remove the target ball. I'm sure she'd love a carreau, but I'm suspecting anything will do. Just get rid of that ball.
And she has.
So now the pressure really on the Reds. It's 3 balls each, but they are 3 points behind. Needs to seize the initiative now.
And she's gone straight through.
Not what she wanted.
Nope.
Pressure ratchets up another notch.
And a second ball. And that will be...
And that is the ball game.
The game.
Well done to the blue team. A fantastic
Yes.
result. An interesting game with nobody really dominating, nobody really grabbing the game by the throat.
No.
Both teams having moments.
Very even.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the match, and thank you to all of our sponsors, and we'll hope to see you next year.